But one morning before they left, Wilbur wakes up, looks down at the table, and there sits Orville, all dressed up, drinking coffee. Said he slept 2 hours that night, been up the rest of the night drinking coffee and trying to figure out how to get this thing to turn. And this is what he came up with. You see this big thing sticking out here in the front? The Wright brothers called this a horizontal rudder. A horizontal rudder will make you go up and will make you go down. He said take that stabilizer off the back and make it a movable vertical rudder. Then when you turn it, here it's going to blow against it, shove the back end around and point the front where we want to go. Now that sounded sort of easy to them, so they decided to try that before they went home. October the 10th, 1902 is just as great a day in the history of aviation as December the 17th, 03. And if you think about it long, it's probably more important. That's the first time anyone ever took a glide off the hill, made a successful turn, and started back towards where they came from. What the Wright brothers did on the 1902 glider is develop the principles of flight, the 3 axes of flight that we still use today. And I'm going to try to show you on the big machine what they actually developed in that small application. Got that horizontal rudder, which we call an elevator for obvious reasons. It makes you go up and down like an elevator building would. And also, when you have it out front like this, it's referred to as a canard. But if you're going straight forward and you wanted to go up, you just pull back on the lever, so up you go. If you want to go down, you push forward, and you down you go. So the horizontal rudder or elevator creates the up and down motion that we refer to as pitch. In the air, this is called pitch, the up and down motion. Now to roll back and forth, they didn't have ailerons like we have today. The French invented the aileron a few years later. But they did what they call wing warping, bending, curving, or flexing of a wingtip. They did it by putting their hips in a wooden frame, which is hard for most of you to see right up here in the center. But they would move their hips in the direction they wanted to roll. There's a wire that runs over either side of the frame, goes to the bottom down with the bottom wing, to a bicycle chain, and through a pulley, and up to the back of the top wing. But it simply slides in the direction they want to roll. If they wanted to roll to their right, they would slide to the right, and that would pull down the left wing, their left wing is on your right side. And another wire is going to pull up the right wing. Now we've got a big curved surface over here on the left. Air's going by this curved surface is where the lift is created, so in this case it's going to lift up the left side and roll it towards the right. They want to go to the left, they slide left, pulling down the right wing, another wire pulls up the left. That big curved surface moved all the way over there on the right side now. Air is going back, reading the lift, picks it up, rolls it towards the left. So back and forth you could go only 2 or 3 inches to cause that to happen. We're going to roll to the right, and back to the left. Now some of you might have noticed, but that vertical rudder in the back also moved when they moved their hips. Now when they first came up with that on the glider, they decided they were going to put a lever up there and control it with the right hand to control the vertical rudder in the back. Now the left hand is controlling the horizontal rudder in the front. And after thinking about it for a while, for 2 reasons they wouldn't do that. Number one, it was so new they could accidentally push that lever because that rudder could turn them to the right when the hips are going left, put everything in a bind and cause it to crash. Second reason they wouldn't change it, the only thing that held the right brothers on the 1902 glider was that right hand. They didn't want to give that up. So they just couldn't get all together. First ever successful aircraft had a coordinated turn built into it. So you can see the old vertical rudder move also move their hips. Roll to the right, back to the left. Back and forth to go. Those things, rudders, the 3 axes of flight, roll, pitch, and yaw. Where do you think they got those names? Those sailboats. They got a rudder on the back and control pitching off the water. But what does all of it really mean to us today? I'll try to give you 2 examples. You go to any big airport and you're going to get on a jet liner. You're going to fly across this country, maybe even an ocean. Before you get on and stop, take the time to look at the back end of what we call the tail section, and you're going to see a great big vertical rudder on it. Now, it looks a whole lot nicer than one the Wright brothers had, but it does the same job as the one they developed in 1902. In fact, if you're ever getting on a jet liner and you glance back there and you do not see a vertical rudder on it, don't. The space shuttle, when it goes out real fast because they're in a hurry to get where they're going. But when it returns to the Earth, re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, all the power that moves that big thing forward is simply turned off. And it comes back through the atmosphere and lands on this Earth as a great big glider using the same roll, pitch, and yaw developed the Wright brothers in 1902. That's how important that glider is. But now that we have that, there's 2 more things we need here. Number 1, we need some power. Number 2, we need propellers. Now we know other people were already trying to fly and they already had propellers. But the Wright brothers perfected the airplane propeller. Other folks' propellers were basically patterned after boat propellers. Shaped like a big screw, so when it turns, it pulls you through the water. Wright brothers using the layer pulls in the end of their wind tunnel developed the airplane propeller. The first one they ever made was wood carved out by hand, was 81% efficient. First time I heard that, I thought they missed it by nearly 20%, but that's not quite true. Best wooden airplane propeller ever made, 87% efficient, most of them ran 83 to 85%. So they came real close with a pencil piece of paper, and a lot of that math Mom taught when they were real young. The engine, got to make that long story short, the engine manufacturing industry was the young industry. They did not want to build for anyone trying to fly, ready to crash it, blame the engine, and they didn't want that against their name. The other problem the Wright brothers had, though, was they wanted something that weighed under 200 pounds and put out at least 8 horsepower. Back in those days, 8 horsepower could be 400 to 500 pounds. Everything was big, bulky, very low horsepower. They didn't have brakes and straps and that type of an engine back then. That didn't stop them because they'd already built one engine to run machinery at the bicycle shop in the late 1890s. They understood the concept, designed their own engine, purchased all the materials and parts, and the man named Charlie Taylor, who already worked for them in the bike shop, put it together. But the great thing about their engine was done in a local foundry there in Dayton. When he went to the friend that ran the foundry, told him what we're trying to do, he said, listen fellas, there's something new out. I've been wanting to try this anyway because I really think it's going to work. And in 1903, he built him an aluminum engine block. First time ever recorded aluminum was used as the engine block. When this little thing was all together, it weighed 165 pounds, put out another 12 horsepower.